Happy New Year! Joey Only the Cariboo Weather Dude here to talk to you about weather. Yes. So, not a whole lot of weather stories for British Columbia to start the new year. That's the main thing. I mean, temperatures are going to be more or less seasonal for most places. And besides a little bit of a winter storm going on in southern BC right now, down in the Fraser Canyon and whatnot, there's not a whole lot in the radar for the next coming days for BC, but that's okay because other parts of North America are going to get completely destroyed, and I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes. Also, the avalanche conditions still remain high for a couple more days, although I think things are starting to settle, so that's the good news. But the possibility of large-scale avalanches is still there. So yeah, just the snowfall warnings that are going on right now. Fraser Canyon, Fraser Valley, winter storm up on Haynes Road, and Nicola is also getting snowfall. That's mostly going to peter out this afternoon here on New Year's Eve day. 10 centimeters still could happen or is happening at the moment. So that's on the Coquihalla especially. Be wary up there. You know how things can be. And the big story has been avalanches this week, and there's been a lot of them all over the Western Cordillera. No deaths that I've seen yet, so that's really good news. There's been highway closures and things like that through the week. We have this one that happened on Bow Mountain. That's 93. That's the Icefields Parkway. This is in Alberta, not in British Columbia. A group skinned up a low-angle terrain and waded beneath rocks on the climber's right. First skier crossed a supportive compression, which had already cracked on approach, but it's not slid due to the low angle and supportive shape. Skier came back to wait in rocky terrain higher on climber's right, where rocks seemed to break up the terrain too much for a continuous bed surface. Second skier followed and regrouped with the first. Third skier followed, which triggered a steeper pocket higher up. Crown extended just far enough right down to pull down the other three skiers in the broken terrain on the right. All skiers rode down slowly on the surface until the snow stopped. Debris was 50 to 100 centimeters deep on top of the existing snowpack. What's really important to note is that is not a steep slope, man. That's by far, people are going into more dangerous slopes than that. People are going onto slopes like that thinking it's a safer alternative than some of the steeper slopes out there. And with the conditions that have been happening, it's not. So we look out, we see lots of reported avalanches, very few incidents, none of them serious. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 witnessed avalanches in that one zone alone. Cranbrook, 4 witnessed avalanches. And then 4 and then 3 more down there between Castlegar and Creston, right? So that's what those little numbers mean, witnessed and reported avalanches. Lots of avalanches are witnessed and not reported. And we've even had some on Vancouver Island. 5 in the mountains near Courtenay. So that's Strathcona Provincial Park. That's where Washington is. That's a ski hill there. And there's definitely lots of steep terrain in that area. I've climbed mountains. You can find my video about climbing the mountains there on my YouTube channel. And then we had a near miss at Yanks Peak that happened on Boxing Day. And this is before the special public avalanche warning was put out. It didn't have this report wasn't fully in the other day when I reported on Thursday, so it's good to see that they were actually out before the warnings were and caught in this. So there's 2 people involved. One person was not injured. And this is the Ritter. The Ritter was side-hilling across the top and released the slide near a rock outcropping. Most of the slope moved. The rider pulled his Avipack to allow him to stay near the surface. And that's steeper than the last one we looked at in Bow Mountain, but still not excessively steep. So these are avalanches that are ready to go. And to these guys' credit, not only were they out before the special avalanche warning was in this terrain, so you can't blame them for negligence because for ignoring Avalanche Canada's warning. Also, they had Avipack, which may or may not have saved his life, but if it had been a larger avalanche, it probably would have been the deciding factor, the fact that they have proper gear. So that special public avalanche warning remains in effect until January 2nd. And I've reported on that enough. That's the details. Let's look at the bigger picture. BC, I mean, honestly, we don't have a whole lot of weather stories coming to BC in the next week or two. Nothing major yet. I mean, things do change. One of the big stories that's going on in North America is right here, this high pressure bulb. And what's it doing? It's putting warm weather up into the central United States, the east coast of the United States, even up into Ontario. It's grabbing all this warm air down in the south and bringing it up and around. Well, what's going to happen is cold air is going to have to chase that, and that's what always happens. But on top of that, there is this third element, which is a low pressure that's going to be developing off the coast of California, and is going to put maybe 10 feet of snow into the mountains of, say, California, maybe places like Colorado, and that is going to trigger a whole other set of stories. Watch this. So on Sunday, we see that warmth pushing up and in to the central states. Look how warm it is in Ontario, 3, 4, 5, 6 degrees in much of the southern part of the province. At Monday, we see that warmth moving more and more in, and we see this low pressure system now developing right. That low pressure north into Texas, moving up into Kansas, across Oklahoma, drawing in behind it as low pressure moves counterclockwise. This cold air, that's going to create some chaos Tuesday, Wednesday for sure. Look at this low pressure system. We see how warm those temperatures are pushing through the central states. We see all that cold air. This will develop on the north side of it, blizzards again. So not exactly a Colorado low, but kind of effectively the same thing. And we see all that warm air coming in Tuesday. And this is going to be tornado setups for the United States. BC weather, pretty boring, but this. And we see up over 10 degrees like in some parts of southern Ontario for moments on Tuesday. And that low pressure straight into Ontario. It's going to sit on those Great Lakes once again. It'll be a different storm because of where the warmth is, but on the backside of it, there'll be miserable storm conditions, I'm sure. So we see that low first developing on Sunday the 2nd. Colorado, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico sitting there. So we're going to have lots of snowfall in Wyoming, some precipitation through Albuquerque, New Mexico. So this effectively is a Colorado low. Freezing rain into Kansas, Omaha, Iowa, and then we see the thunderstorms start to develop on Monday, 10 a.m. And here we go. 11 a.m. already. The United States has got some excessively strong thunderstorms. Look at those red tops. These are deep thunderstorms. Some of them will produce tornadoes. They're on the front side of this low. 2023 is going to start off with some mighty destructive storms. Look at this one going through Louisiana. That is expected to be very deep. And there's a lot of certainty on this. That's the other thing. We see heavy rainfall into the Great Lakes. This line of thunderstorms now moving across. Kentucky starting to get it. Tennessee. 2023 is going to start with some very destructive storms in the United States. So that is going to be the big story. And those storms are going to last into the night. Some of them very strong. Lots of warm air and lots of cold air clashing. Cold air is always chasing warm air. So when you get that much warm air pushing into the United States, that cold air is going to have to dive down somehow and get it. But this time it has enough moisture coming from the Pacific that we're not seeing the same setup we saw last time. We're not getting that extreme cold pushing down into British Columbia, for example. We see on Wednesday, the 4th, this very deep low pressure system, 960 millibars off the coast of Oregon. And it's starting to slap once again into, the snowfall totals in the California mountains are going to be absolutely ridiculous over the next 2 weeks. These atmospheric rivers just pounding the high places. So maybe some snowfall in southern BC on Tuesday morning or Thursday morning, and then bands of that. We see that low pressure system really aiming at BC, starting to touch there on Thursday at 8 p.m. So definitely southern BC is going to get walloped once again with some pretty excessive wind and rain and snow. Coast mountains. How much we'll get over the coast mountains and into the province? My forecast here for Wells is not a great deal of a lot, actually. So we've had the hard winter. It was number 9 on Environment Canada's top stories for 2022. The extreme weather we just had here, the extreme cold in British Columbia and Western Canada in general, and everywhere really. But that's what we're looking at for this week to start the new year. So anyways, I'm Joey, only the Cariboo Weather Dude. I hope you found anything in this report kind of helpful. And I know we didn't talk about BC a whole lot, and it's not really until next weekend that there's much to talk about. There will be some snowfall events and some wind and rain events in southern BC coming up this week. But I'm not particularly nervous about the forecast. More or less, we have a very positive forecast to start the year in BC, and that's great. And over the next 10 days, where will new snowfall be? We see this swath across the United States where that low system goes through. It's like the atmospheric river is visible on the projections of snow. So, will that go exactly there? Will it go a little further north of? Will it go a little further south of? I don't know. Heavy snow in BC mountains on the coast. Not too much, maybe southwestern BC in the next 10 days, seeing some. Not a whole lot in the north. California, that'll be the big story. You know, some of these snowfall, 260 centimeters in places. There's the possibility for some really big snowfall totals there. And some are saying up to 10 feet in California. So you never know in those mountains, of course. I'm Joey, only the Cariboo Weather Dude. We'll see you next time, everybody. Thanks for stopping on by. Hope you had yourself a fine day. Happy New Year to you. And I think I'm going to make a video later on, which his main purpose is to thank everybody who's supported the channel today. Okay, bye for now.